dedicated to the only serious choice, the gospel of Jesus Christ, the music and the spoken word. You're watching Light Source Victory Television Live with me, your host, Pastor J. McCauley, inviting you to sit back and relax for the next 55 minutes or so as we continue our journey into the life-changing, life-giving, everlasting word of the Most High God. My friends, it is indeed time for the most important hour of the day, Bible study. Now, of course, it is my Bible study time that I spend with you. We try to do it each and every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday right here at accesstv.org, on Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and other social media, as we broadcast live around the world from the greatest city on earth, Hartford, Connecticut, New England's rising star. How was your Thursday? Well, I hope your Thursday was at least half as good as mine, because if it was, you had a fantastic Thursday. I had a great Thursday. Production today. What else did I do? I think that's about it. I was on the phone a lot today. But other than that, it was a great day. It's open forum, my friends. Open forum Thursday. We do this every Thursday, although this week has been an open forum week. We started it on Sunday, and we did all 5 days straight through as open forum. So tonight, it brings us to the end of a week of open forum. That means every audience that we have, because we have different audiences on different days of the week, every audience had an opportunity to participate in the open forum segment that we try to do at least once a week. Well, this week we did it all week long. So Sunday when we come back, we will be in our regular mode, all right, where we will, continue to be controversial, mixing politics and religion and the news of the day all in the same space and place. But tonight, it's open forum. That means we set aside the whole program just for you and your calls and your commentary and whatever it is that you want to talk about, whatever's important to you. All right. We'll stay here for at least an hour, and that's if no one calls. We'll be here for an hour. That way we gave everybody a nice long window to participate. All right. But before we do any of this, let's not miss the opportunity to do the big share. The big share is always an important part of the program because that's how we kick the program off. So let's get started with the big share. This is the portion of the program where we share the experience with friends and family. All right, friends, family, and foe. That way we keep everybody in the know. We always start the big share off with our groups. All right, there are several groups that we share with every time we're on the air. And so let's start doing it right now. Where they do that at in the city of Hartford. That group was started by none other than Sean Barlow. And so there we go. That's the first one. Second, we share with Hartford Dwellers. Hartford Dwellers. Okay. Next, we're going to share with Dwelling in Downtown Hartford. Then we're going to share with Community Block Watchers in the Northeast Clay Arsenal community. That group was started by Evelyn Richardson. There we go. Community Block Watchers, Clay Arsenal. There we go. Next, we're going to share with another group, and this would be we get two groups that we share with that are ministry or gospel focused. The first one is Ministries of the Living God. The second one is New England Women and Men of God. All right, so let's pull that one up here. And group New England Women and Men of God. Next group. Oops, forgot to post. There we go. There we go. You know, part of the posting is hitting the post button. If you don't hit the post button, you won't get the share. Your share won't go off, right? Get your share on. All right, let's see here. Next, accesstv.org, virtual television or TV network group. Okay, let's see. Dwelling, Harvard Dwellers, where they do that at. Community Block Watchers, New England, Women and Men of God, Ministries of the Living God, and, of course, accesstv.org, virtual television network. Pages. All right, there's a couple pages we share with accesstv.org. There we go. Done. Next page, Connecticut Black News Network. Done. Next page. Light Source Victory Television. Next page. All right. We also want to share with McCauley for Harvard. That's my political page. The reason we share with that is because it's open forum. And since it is open forum, we tend to talk about things a lot more political during the open forum. We don't share the Bible study portion of the program on McCauley for Harvard, but we do share this here. Okay. Next, we're going to share with friends. So let's get our friends share on right now. We only share really with one friend, so that makes it easy. There we go. And then next, we're going to share with family. Because as their parent, I can insert myself into their lives whether they like it or not. So I'm going to share on grown children's page. There we go. That's one. I think I'll get the other children too. I'll do 3 kids tonight. Share. Let's see here. And of course, you all can share. If you like the show, you like what we do, share it. That's consider that the offering. I don't want your money. All right, share it. So let's see here. Family. Grown daughter. Let's share with her. And oldest male child, the firstborn child. Share with him. There we go. That's it. That takes care of the big share, my friends. That was pretty easy, right? Like the Staples button. That was easy. If only government had an easy button, right? Just push the button and you'd be good to go. Bring that all the way down because I'll get caught up listening to music. All right, 860-944-9797. It's Open Forum Friday. It's your time. I will stay here for 1 hour. If no one calls, I'll stay for 1 hour. If people call, I'll stay as long as there's conversation. Now, here's the rules. If somebody calls, and I don't have a problem with that. If you want to call, if you want to talk, call. When you call, you bump whoever's on the phone off. All right. I mean, of course, we want to give them a couple of minutes to get their call on. You know, they call and you call like 30 seconds later, we're going to let you roll over, okay? But if the caller's been on the phone for a little bit of a hot minute or two, like, 5-10 minutes, and you want to call in, then call, and then we'll hang up on that call and take yours. That's how that works, okay? I try not to come up with ideas to talk about because it's your time, and it will be really easy for me to come up with a subject a hot button issue, and then that makes it, this is not talk radio. It's not the traditional talk radio, talk media format. It's your time to talk. All right, there we go. News and information of the day is what we lean on in terms of what we generally talk about. And so by all means, feel free to give us a call. We also allow for you to communicate via the comment section on Facebook. There is a comment section or a chat section in YouTube, but I can't manage the YouTube conversation and the Facebook conversation. Okay, that's not true. I could manage both. I choose not to. That's the truth of the matter. Facebook runs, we purposely have set Facebook up to be 60 seconds behind. So it's very difficult to have an interactive real-time conversation when the person is responding 60 seconds after something you say. All right, so you can call, and we'll take your calls live on the air, all right? Or you can write comments in the comment section, and I will respond to your comments. So you could, like, say, ask a question, and then I'll answer the comment. All right. Obviously, that's not a dialogue, but you may just have a question or want me to comment on a particular subject for what it's worth, my point of view, if you will. And I'll share that with you. So we can do that. If you're asking a question and I'm like way off in terms of the answer, you can always refocus your question so I could clarify, or you can call. If you call, then I can't misunderstand what you're saying. That's not true either. If you call and I misunderstand what you're saying, you can make the correction immediately, and then I can adjust. All right, that's what I mean to say. It's easier to have a conversation with someone than it is to use text messaging and email for conversational purposes. All right, I don't like texting. A lot of people text. I find it I don't like it. I'll say that. I was going to say I find it challenging. It's not challenging. It's just it's inefficient way to communicate. It's almost as bad as using a smoke signal. Or Morse code. Imagine using Morse code with a high-tech device like this phone. This is the most sophisticated communication device in the history of mankind. But people use it to send text messages. And folk be texting back and forth. And they go back and forth. But I like to I'm old-fashioned. I like to talk to people. Now, talking has some inherent drawbacks. I will say that. Texting does get to the point. And you don't have to engage in icebreaker small talk when you text. You ask the question, X, Y, and Z. Then the person send back the message, A, B, and D. ZQX. 1, 2, 3 hashtag me. And then then it's done. All right. And so you didn't get into this long protracted. So how are the kids? Oh, they're doing fine. What about, you have to go through all this exchange before you actually get to what it is you want to talk about. That can take 15, 20 minutes. And people ain't got time for that. So that's where, that is where your text messages come in handy. And I get that. But I like conversation. Okay, I like conversation. I like conversation. All right. Facebook, of course, provides a platform for people to really lay down what it is they're thinking. And people draft up messages. I think people type the messages up and then copy and paste them into Facebook. All right. That way you can really, you can really craft a good message. People's writing skills, I think, will get better if you use Facebook to communicate with, because people can be ruthless depending upon the group you're in on Facebook. Depending upon the group that you're communicating in, people could get real ruthless with your lack of command of proper English, punctuations, things like that. So if you are if you're a public figure, if you're an elected figure, you have to be very careful about your posts. You got to dot the I's, cross the T's, put punctuation punctuation marks, commas, colons, semicolons, and you need to know the proper use of all of these things, the quotation marks, all these things, giving proper credit when you quote somebody. All these things come into play. They come into play. It's very serious, very, very serious. So, there's a lot of rules to stuff, and it's that way when you have conversation with people too. Okay, because like when you're talking to folks, you have to be careful of the words you use. It gets very, very deep. Very, very, very deep. So there are trigger words, code words. If you're going to talk about black folk, you can call them black folk. You can call them African Americans. Not everybody brown skin is African American. All right. African American is a code word among African Americans to differentiate African Americans from those who may be in the African diaspora, but not from the African American experience. So a lot of times people be talking, you may not want to say, we want more black cops. So code would be, we think that there need to be more black and brown law enforcement officers in a city that is majority black and brown. But if you're talking about Hartford, you see how that really is kind of messed up? Because Hartford is not majority black and brown. Hartford is majority Hispanic or Spanish speaking. So you can get into trouble with Hispanic, Spanish speaking, Latino, Latina. See, so communication is key. The majority population of Hartford speaks Spanish. Brown is inclusive of Spanish-speaking people. But it's never brown and black. It's always black and brown. So black and brown, when you hear that, that's code generally spoken by somebody who is black and brown. The other thing you'll hear is people say people that look like us. That's for mixed company. So talking is very, very, you got to be careful. And everyone can't get away with saying the same things. Someone might be able to say something. Another person says the exact same thing and they wind up in hot trouble. They lose their job. Careers could be ended. Okay? So you have to be very, very careful. You have to be careful. You could be a law enforcement officer and say one thing to somebody, and if you're not the right ethnic group, the same exact thing you say could be held against you. And it's not really a matter of double standard. It's a matter of communication. And communication is a one-on-one event. So you have to be good communicators so that you can communicate ideas, thoughts, and notions in a correct manner and eliminate. And you know. None of those things disappear because you're texting or instant messaging. One of the inherent problems with texting and instant messaging is that there's a record of what it is that you said. And depending upon who you are and what you do, you may not want a record. You may not want it written down because you could have said the wrong thing and not meant it that way, but it's the record. Okay? And if you're a politico, well, everything you say is something that could be eventually used against you. Everything you text. So you have to be careful. If you're a corporate CEO, these are the things, all these things, because, you know, today's orange is tomorrow's vanilla. Okay? Which is to say, even though a person likes vanilla and not orange, when orange is the new flavor, folks suddenly like orange, even if they have to call it vanilla. That's a little bit deep for some of y'all. (860-944-9797). I am engaging in rambling. This is what we refer to as rambling. Just talking extemporaneously. Alexa, what does it mean to talk extemporaneously?
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
Alexa, define extemporaneously.
Extemporaneous is usually defined as with little or no preparation or forethought.
All right, just talking. Alexa, define rambling.
As a noun, ramble can mean an aimless amble on a winding course. As a verb, ramble can mean continue talking or writing in a desultory manner.
Just talking. Not saying anything. All right. I'm doing that on purpose so as not to create conversation launch points that direct the focus of the conversation while we're here. Because this time is set aside for you. Even if you're not calling, the reason we continue for 1 hour is to give those who will join us 10 minutes from now the same opportunity that you have had, even though you don't have anything to say, which is cool. Because in a perfect world, we sit here for 1 hour and don't talk to anybody. Not that I don't want to talk to y'all, but since this is set up for questions, answers, comments, criticisms, and remarks, if there are none, that means that all hearts and minds are settled, which ideally would be where we are. So think of it as at the end of the class, the instructor asks, are there any questions? No. I covered today the I-84 project. You know, they're getting ready to do some serious work on the I-84 viaduct. That's the raised highway. It's actually like one long bridge, but that's the raised highway that cuts through Hartford and separates the downtown and the southern side of the city from the northern and western sides of the city. Just put the highway right through. All right. Congressman Larson would like to put a tunnel. Ain't gonna happen. I know he likes the tunnel. I know but you know, there's no way in the world it's gonna happen because you can't justify how much it's gonna cost. There'd be billions and hundreds of billions of dollars to do the tunnel, and then the tunnel has some inherent problems. Okay. The cost of the boring machine. You need to watch this. It was very, very good information. But there's like 6 different scenarios under which the viaduct will be dealt with. All right, because the whole purpose of the upgrade, or attention being given to this, is because of the increased amount of traffic. The tunnel would be just a logistical nightmare because it would be 4 miles long. And if a car broke down, you'd have to send a wrecker in to get it. But once the car breaks down, it stops up traffic. Now, what happens if there's a car accident in the tunnel? The only way to get to the accident is to go to the beginning of the tunnel and drive in. At 60 miles an hour, it would take you 2 minutes to get to the middle of the tunnel because at 60 miles an hour, that's 1 minute a mile. So 2 minutes. So if like Hartford Fire Department, 3 minute arrival time is like really, really good. The response time of 3 minutes. So let's bump the response time up to 5 minutes. All right. So if response time could be 5 minutes, you've been in a car accident in the tunnel. So the only way to get out of the tunnel is for the fire engine to go what? Proceed forward, but it can't proceed forward because of the accident. All right, are we all on the same page? So that means the only way the fire engine can get out of the tunnel is got to back up. So the fire engine had to back up 2 miles to get out the tunnel. The ambulance got to back up 2 miles to get out the tunnel. The traffic is backed up 2 miles, so how are you going to get in the tunnel? So I guess you could drive down the lane where traffic isn't. But because the traffic tunnel can only be so wide, you might have 2 or 3 lanes, right, all going in one direction on a lower level, and 2 or 3 lanes all going in another direction on the upper level. That way you can have 6 lanes because you can only put so many lanes in there and you got to have a breakdown lane. See, traffic engineering is quite the thing. It's quite the challenge. All this is discussed in the I-84 project, which they have been begging the public to get involved in. And there are people from Hartford that do attend. Wow, I guess I'm having a senior moment because I can't think of Dr. Painter. Dr. Painter, former chief of surgery for Hartford Hospital and former city councilman. He's always there. There's a gentleman that's there from Frog Hollow. There's people there from the state police. There's people there from the Truckers Association. There's people there from the city of Hartford. There's all kinds of people there. Asylum Hill Community Organization had people there today. People from downtown communities. There's all kinds of people there. All right. But one solution actually has, and it seems like it's the one that might be the most acceptable in terms of being able to relieve congestion, as well as minimize costs. This is going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars. But, hundreds of millions, tens of millions, billions, the one that's the most affordable and effective and seems to fit everybody's desires is the one that kind of moves a lot of the traffic through a section of the North End. I'm just saying. For those of you who are interested in these things, you need to attend these meetings. Now, it coming through the North End is not necessarily a bad thing, okay? Particularly if you own property where there might be an off-ramp. Businesses spring up around off-ramps, okay? Or maybe you own a piece of property and the off-ramp is like a quarter of a mile down the way from the property you own. So now folks is trying to get the off-ramp. Where's it going to be? What kind of streets are going to be impacted? If it's going to be built, even though the highway may not necessarily impact you, the build might impact you for what, 2 years? Because you ain't going to build the highway like in a week and a half. All right? Tunnels. The guy's explaining that if you brought the world's largest boring machine, which is very expensive, the rate at which the boring machine moves is like feet a day, feet a week. But there are certain aspects of the move that you can't do with the machine. You actually have to do by hand. So now you got human beings down there digging out. If you can't match the boring machine, so you could do it by hand. Hundreds of billions of dollars. All right. Well, let me be more on the conservative and safe side. Tens of billions to put a tunnel in there, and do it. So there's the lowered highway. There's the highway that's, when you look, you won't see it, but it's not a tunnel. There's kind of like a semi-raise where you put berms up so that you don't see the highway. But a lot of time and energy has gone into this plan, and it will be done. They're going to move the train station, and so I covered that today. It was very, very interesting. You can watch on accesstv.org, as well as all of the meetings, at least for the last 2 years, 3 years we've been covering that. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. Mm-hmm. You should attend these meetings. If you don't attend them, at the very least, watch them. All right. But there's meetings all over the city. All over the city there are meetings, planning meetings that require your participation because you all are the public. It's not that they're trying to keep you out. It's just that folk don't go. They don't go. You can go. You can go to these meetings. All right. I'm sure the senators, the Hartford delegation, would love for you to come up to the state capitol and testify, talk, ask questions of your delegation, because you put a face to who they represent, and ideas, notions, and policies get put forward up there, and you can speak for them, you can speak against them. Your activity is necessary to help move agendas forward. And agendas aren't necessarily bad. A lot of people think, oh, what's your agenda? You better have an agenda. Otherwise, what are you trying to accomplish? If you don't have an agenda, then that means you're not accomplishing anything. Oh, we don't have an agenda. Well, then why are you here? What do you want? Oh, we don't want anything. Then why are you here? Everyone else wants something. That's why people come here. You go to the bank. Can I help you? No. What are you here for? Oh, I just figure I'd stop by. I don't want anything. I'm just here. I'm just here. All right. You go to the supermarket. What do you go to Walmart for? Oh, I just wanted to just walk around, and I was a cooling center. It's hot out. I figure Walmart's got good air conditioning, so I figured come in here and hang out, and just roll the cart around. Now you go there because you want something. Right? It's not against the law. It's not wrong morally or ethically to want something from the political system. That's what it's really set up for, because people have wants, needs, and desires, and some of those needs and desires are provided through the political mechanism. And if you don't want anything, then you won't get anything. A lot of times people they have not because they ask not. Okay? A lot of communities literally don't have because they don't ask. Sometimes they're too proud to ask. Other times they don't even think to ask. They just believe that the person who's been elected to office automatically knows what they want. Well, you know what we need. No, I don't know what you need. I know what I think you need, but if you don't talk to me and I don't talk to you, how will I know? And so when you go into the community, particularly some poorer communities, you ask them what they want, it's something meager. I can't speak for all communities. I can speak for a lot. I can speak for a lot in the African American community, which is not to be confused with the Caribbean community. Which is part of the African diaspora. The island of Puerto Rico is in the Caribbean. But when you say the Caribbean community, you're not necessarily talking about the issues that impact those who are from Puerto Rico. So everybody has different wants, different needs, and different desires, and they all need to be respected. And that's why you have the political process, so that you can advocate for the things you need relative to the resources that are available. So I can't speak for all the communities. I can only speak, relative to my observations and my ears and what I see and hear in the African American community. But all too often within the African American community, people don't want nothing. What do you want? Oh, we don't need nothing. We just want you to do a good job, baby. What can I do for you? You know what you could do? You could win. And when you win, don't forget about us. So what do you want? Baby, now, we don't want anything. We want you to help make our community better. That's all. You do right by us and we'll do right by you. So what do you want? Well, the children need a nice place to play. If you could just get them nets, do that, we'd be happy. If you could get the basketball nets replaced. And don't, why they got to be them chains? Can't you get some real, the fabric, the cloth net, the thing they hang nicely, and some of those things, and get a nice supply of them. Now, meanwhile, other communities, what do they want? They want a variance in the zoning so that the residential area that the highway goes through and could potentially have an off-ramp can be zoned as a business. And if they can get that, then they'll buy a piece of property there so that they can put a business there. See, other people is thinking about significant asks. Significant asks. They're asking for something meaningless like a basketball net. If you want to go to Walmart and buy some basketball nets and go there in the middle of the night and put them up there and call it a day. All right, ask for something significant. All right. They're getting ready to continue with the build out of downtown North. All right. Of course, there are a lot of people wondering about how the community is going to participate in the build out of downtown North. Will they be included in some of the decision making as to what the buildings look like, whether they're going to be sensitive to cultural issues? Y'all get together and get some money and buy up some property. See, now we're talking. Because a little piece of property worth almost nothing now, a couple of years from now, it's going to be worth a big piece of change. So what is the community doing to leverage its collective strength, its collective wealth, even if it doesn't have any? A lot of people wind up, let me rephrase, a lot of people start off with nothing and wind up becoming millionaires. So if the community and young people have the capacity to come up with ideas on how to make money, then let's come up with some real ideas on how to make money. All right? So if there can be an economic incentive to have a company that already pays its CEO, that's $100 million a year, well, let's back it down. $50 million a year plus stock options, because he's the CEO of a major corporation and his decisions affect the livelihood of thousands of people up and down the supply line. So he's worth his money. I'm not saying he shouldn't be getting that kind of money. But if the state's going to give him an incentive to move to Connecticut so he can hire, guaranteed over the next 20 years, 200 people. With 200 people, he's going to get what? $20 million incentive if he moves, makes a promise. You'll get, well, if they can do that, and that's, State Department of Economic and Community Development might have a little piece of change that you guys can make a little collective for your entrepreneurial enterprise, and what you want is a piece of land. Seeing as how the red line's being pushed back by the stadium. So they're getting ready to do a $300 million build out. That means that the land there might have some value. So banks might be more willing to let up some of the monies that they wouldn't normally release to a neighborhood that had been redlined, because now there may be some economic return on the money that they lend you. These are significant things you can ask for. Instead of asking for stuff that doesn't amount, it's worthless. It means something to you, but it has no value. When you ask the political representative to fight on your behalf for things you need, are they significant? Most people that run for public office got fight in them. You can't. It's very difficult to get to the position without some fight. It ain't gonna come to you. It's not coming to you. You got to do a little doggy dog to get it. All right. And so, once you got it, so now you got to hold on to it. And that takes a little doggy dog too, because of course, once you get there, now all the folk that think that you shouldn't have got there are working to get you out. And the people who think they could do a better job are there to get you out. The people that are already there that resent you being there are trying to get you out. So you got to have a little fight in you. So since they got some fight in them, let them fight for you. They don't mind fighting for you. But they can't fight for you if you don't tell them what you want, at the very least. All right? They're your representatives. They're your representatives. And though you may not work with them, guess what? Other communities do. The suburban communities work with their legislators to move agendas forward in their community's behalf. Hartford has to do the same. Can you explain why Dr. Claude Anderson, possessive, I would imagine, that's that punctuation. I'm not an English major, and my spelling can be challenging, so I'm not criticizing, but I couldn't pass up that because of the comedic timing and what we had talked about earlier with the electronic posts here. So there's no apostrophe on Anderson, but I'm assuming that that's what you mean. I'm only doing this because Jonathan is a friend of mine, and I can mess with him like that. Can you explain why Dr. Claude Anderson economic plan, and like I said, Anderson's economic plan for black urban communities in America failed? How do you feel about group economics as a way of generating revenue? Can you break down the group economics success of the megachurch in America? Well, that would be the example of group economics within the African American community would be the church. It doesn't have to be a megachurch. There's a church here in the Hartford area, Rehoboth. It's in Bloomfield. It's paid for. It's paid for. If you have the mind to visit churches, you need to visit Rehoboth. It's well run. Every church has its issues and its challenges. But as an observer of things, it seems to me that it is very well run with very little drama. See, drama is the symptom of something else. Where you don't see the symptom, there's no disease. So since there's no symptom, it must be well run. It would seem that it is well governed, that there is buy-in and corporate support of the congregation to the church's leadership. The one time that I was there, someone there repairs computers. I know this because someone brought a lot of computers there to be repaired, and the repairs were being done. You could tell that this was a way of keeping the economic opportunity within the membership, within the congregation. I videotaped a wedding that was done there by a member of the church, and they had somebody that did the transportation for the couple. Was a limousine. It wasn't the state-of-the-art brand new limousine, but it was a limousine that was owned by somebody who was a member of the church. I have no doubt that by now, because this was a couple years ago, that by now they have a brand new limousine. See, when you support one another and the money stays within, it circulates, and before long, there's wealth. Now, the one thing African Americans do have is the church. And so church communities have the capacity to be supportive of one another. And if a church reaches a critical mass size, doesn't have to be a mega church, it's just a church that reaches critical mass size and its membership have a diversity of roles and responsibilities and services that they provide, they can become self-sustaining. And then they grow. But you have to have a mind and a purpose and unity. That unity comes because they have a singularity of faith, singularity of purpose, a love for one another, a willingness to sacrifice for one another. So this is something that people outside the church have no clue of or concept. They just see the church, and in their mind, the church is a business. But of course, they don't go to the church. They're not members of the church. They want what the church has to offer in terms of financial. They don't want to embrace the spiritual component that makes the church what it is. They want what they see as the benefits of, but the benefits are linked to the spiritual unity that they all have. All right, so the church is a unique institution, and the church is not trying to become an economic engine. It's the unity of the membership that the economic engine is a natural byproduct of their unity and their faith, and not the other way around. All right. Now, you don't have to be a member of a church, but you have to be a, rephrase that, back it down, slow it down. You don't necessarily have to be a member of, you don't necessarily have to have a church, society, organization, or group in order for cooperative economics to work. But you do need to have a willingness to sacrifice. Since we don't code talk and we don't do anonymous posts, all right, I did a whole series of programs called The State of Black Hartford, and the tagline for that was no anonymous posts. So we were doing that long before this thing happened with the president and the New York Times. All right, I despise anonymous posts. Anonymous posting is the most gutless thing that a person can do. As far as I'm concerned, anyone that posts anonymously, what they have to say is irrelevant, particularly if it's in the form of a criticism. I mean, if they're saying that the building is on fire, we can accept that anonymous post. But if they're trying to bring light to an issue and they don't have the guts to put their name on it, bump them. Bump them. All right? You want to blow the whistle? Have the guts to stand up. Own it. Own it. If you can't own it, then it's worthless. Worthless. In my opinion, I can just speak from me. That's how I feel about anonymous posts. Freedom of speech also carries the responsibility of owning what it is you said. It's not enough to say it. Own it. Own it. Have the courage to own what you believe and what you say. Because I'm a free speech advocate, have been my whole life. All right, so own it. All right, so I said that to say that I don't like to mince. If I'm going to talk about somebody, I'm going to talk about somebody. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. It's just that if, mention a name if you're going to do a name. So I'm about to mention a name. John Caldwell, brother in the Lord, I love him dearly, has a Facebook thread where he's talking about boycotting the Chinese food stores. I have no public opinion on the matter. All right. Though I'm generally not in favor of boycotts. But having said that, the Chinese food stores is another example of cooperative economics. All right. His claim is they don't give anything back to the community. They don't have to. They're in business. How many businesses in the community give back to the community? Some do, some don't. All right. Don't shop there. If you don't like what they have to offer, don't eat there. That's what I put on my. That's what I posted. Don't eat there. I'm not that guy that gotta make a statement by eating in your restaurant when you got signs out there say "Your kind not welcome here." I've been saying this for 30 years on the air. If that's how you feel, thank you for putting a sign in the window. I'm not going to sue you. I'm not going to bring no. Thanks for letting me know, because I don't have to eat there. I got too many options. I definitely don't want to eat anywhere where someone's going to spit in my food or poison it. So if that's how you feel, then I can go somewhere else and eat. And I thank you. I thank you. Hallelujah. Glory to God. Hallelujah. One may cut me a step of dance outside your store. May God bless your business. May you prosper wildly. And thank you for letting me know that had I eaten in your store, you would have spit in my food. So I can go somewhere else. I don't need you smiling in my face talking about, oh, I'm so glad you came, and then spit in my food. Just tell me up front. You don't want to eat here. I don't? Okay, thank you. And I can go somewhere else. I'm not going to lose no sleep. I'm not going to be mad. I'm going to be glad. But once again, that's me. Other folk like to make a person, oh, you're going to let me eat here. I'm going to eat in your store. You're going to serve me. No, that's... You can't make people do those kinds of things. You play with your own head when you do that. So I don't believe they owe me anything. I go into a store, it owes me the product that I'm paying for. If they can't give me the product I'm paying for with good customer service, then I will go somewhere else. And that's how businesses stay in business or go out of business, by giving them good customer service. All right. It'd be nice if businesses give back to the community. If they give back to the community, then more people in the community are likely to go and support their business. But the success of those stores is that they are willing to make sacrifices among a group of people. They'll pool their money, put their money in a big pool, buy a business, let another person run, and same thing, on and on and on and on. Before long, they have a house. And this is not some big, large corporation. It's just a matter of determining and deciding that you're going to pool your money together. Black folk could do that, since we're talking about black folk, to answer his question. Right? Black folks can do that. Any group can do that. Other groups do it. African Americans tend to not do it. All right. Members from the Caribbean do it, but African Americans have a tendency to not trust each other enough to be able to accomplish this. That is to the detriment of the community. That's to the detriment. So, I can't speak to why Dr. Claude Anderson's economic plan did not work or why it failed. Okay, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why. I don't know enough about the failure in order to make an intelligent comment on it. How do you feel about group economics as a way to generate revenue? I think it's great. I think it's great, and it works. The issue is, do you know a group that you can join to make that happen? It clearly works. All right. Quote unquote Black Wall Street is an example of that. But Black Wall Street is not some sort of anomaly. If you have people who are willing to work together, it doesn't matter what color they are, what nationality they are, what gender they are, what their sexual preference is, none of that matters. Money is a tool, and if you use those tools correctly, it will increase in value and have more tool, and you'll be able to use it to acquire more things. But this requires individuals to work together. And then those individuals that are on the outside, the cursory individuals, can be beneficiary of the group. But if you want to do this, you have to be part of it. I've got friends that have investment circles where they pull their money and they invest, they buy things, they buy houses, they buy land, property. And lots of people do that kind of stuff. Right? Howard K. Hill has a foundation that the Prosperity Foundation, I think is called, where it's specifically designed to help African Americans acquire wealth through a corporate, and some people want to be involved, others will talk about it. Don't talk about anything. Be about it. The first part of change comes from being about the change. That's how change happens. You get from here to California by putting one foot in front of the other. That's it. And if you're walking from here to California, there are inherent dangers. You might come across people who think you don't belong here, kill you, rob you. Winters could come across you. You're not going to walk across from here to California in a day and a half. There'll be valleys, hills. How are you going to survive the night? How are you going to survive the winter? There's no roads that have been cut. You're walking through trails. You're taking on new territory. Hostile agents, wild no tigers, but bears. Okay, other animals. It's hard. Life is hard. Okay. Those that are successful, those that are wildly successful, have a mindset to succeed. And when obstacles come, they find ways to overcome the obstacles. That's how you succeed at anything. I don't care how simple it is. I don't care how complex it is. Success comes because you determine to be successful. And expect people to try to stop you. That is a given. It's a given. Okay, it's a given. It's like running a race. Expect there to be resistance from the air as you pass through it. It's just part of running. Expect to get tired. Expect to have to rest. All right. Expect to have to eat. These are the things that, it's part of living. All right. Expect there to be disappointments. And expect that you'll have down days that you get depressed and feel like giving up. So what's your plan when you don't feel like going on? The plan has to be put the next foot in front of the other, pick up the one that remains and put it in front of that one, and then put it in front of that one. You get a Charlie horse, ease whatever that pain is and put one foot in front of the other and then another foot in front of the other. You fell down the side of a slope, broke a leg, splintered up, let it heal, get well, and then put the other foot in front of the other foot and walk. That's the only way you succeed at anything. Excuses limit your ability to be successful. If there's no economic group, start one. Start one. We got a circle of 5 people who can all put up $5. Everybody put in $5, and now what are we going to do to turn this $5? Collectively, among all 5 of us, is $25. How can we turn this $25 into $100? Come up with a plan that's legal. So that when you get successful, you don't have to worry about the fact that your success is illegally gained. Now someone comes, takes it, or undermines it. Because there's always going to be someone to come to try to undermine your success. Always. So what plan do you have in place to protect the gains you've made? A lot of people make gains, and then what do? They bail out. Excuse me, they have no way to protect their gains. Because with whatever gain you make, there's a person who believes you shouldn't have it. So now they come after your gains. It's like a legislative gain. You won the argument, and therefore there was legislation passed to support an agenda or a desire that you had. But there's no revenue to fund moving it forward. You get legislation that says it's illegal to discriminate against people of color and against people who are over 8 feet tall. Why? Because there's been massive discrimination against these 2 groups. So you get legislation passed that puts at the state level an organization whose job it is to ferret out this kind of discrimination. But there's no money to fund the inspectors that go out and do the work. There's no way to enforce the law. Well, the department is on the books, the means is there, but we don't, the rule is there. But there's no way to enforce it. Because there's no money. There's no revenue to push it, to do anything. All right? So you got to find the people who are in violation of the new rule. Now that it's a law, it's been signed into being. All right. Before the law, without the law, there's no violation of the law. The law sets up a mechanism by which you can condemn people or convict them of a particular wrong. Just like in Scripture, the Bible, the law allows you to realize that you missing God's mark of righteous perfection. So the Bible establishes the law to prove that you're a sinner. Without the law, there's no sin. Okay? So now there's a means by which to convict you of sin. So now you realize the need for salvation and the mercy of God. Now, back in the non-spiritual world, you have a law. The new law says anyone that acts this way can now be sanctioned. So first you got to find the people who are doing it. How are you going to find that? All right, you're going to rely on the populace to come and say, well, so-and-so is treating me wrong. Who do they go to? They got to go to an agent in the agency. But because the agency doesn't have any funding, who are they going to report it to? The news, the press? So there's no investigative mechanism. All right. Now that the investigative mechanism is there, you find the person's in violation. Where's the means by which they get a fair hearing? Just because you made an accusation doesn't mean that it was true. So how do they get a fair hearing? Is there a hearing? Do they going to go before the court? Has the law been set up to allow those kinds of things? In what way is it a violation? The enforcement. See, all this requires revenue, means by which to fund it. So how well thought out is the plan? Okay, so it's not just the idea or the notion that there be cooperative economics. How is it going to be accomplished? And then even as, you know, if I understand what you have here in the question, if Dr. Claude Anderson has this plan and he institutes the plan and it works on a nominal level because of what he does for a whole community within a church, and then it starts to deteriorate, so what's the likelihood of it being a long-term plan? Because there are some inherent issues around these types of successful plans at a church, because nothing happens in a vacuum. So if you have a church that is the foundation of your economic plan, what happens if the leader leaves or gets killed by a car? Right? Tomorrow is not promised. You can be crossing the street tonight and someone hit you. Die. All right? It's pointed unto man wants to die, after that the judgment. But all the plans that you had are now interrupted by your untimely demise. Okay? So what happens if the visionary leaves or the visionary gets old? So the guy's 40 years old, let's say, when he has this great plan. It's going to take him 5 years to convince everybody to come on board, another 5 years for it to be implemented and start to see some manifestation of the plan. So that's 10 years. And it's actually starting to bear fruit. 15 years in, he was 40, 50, he's 55. All right. So what's the succession plan? Is there a succession plan? Someone to succeed him after he leaves? So all of these things need to be thought about and given, you know, serious consideration when you come up with these plans. Lights or strictly television?
Yes, Dan. That thing, I guess, Access TV needs a cameraman. Call 860-944-9797 is listed again or posted again right on your show.
That's unique to your viewing experience. I can tell you that because I'm looking at YouTube right now.
Okay.
So YouTube works based upon the viewers' wants, appetites, passions, and desires, and your search history and the things that you have been looking up in the Google search engine. YouTube, of course, is part of Google, so it has access to the same data. So if you're looking for jobs within the production industry, when you tune on to YouTube, anybody that was looking for or is thinking about that will come up. So if that is there, it's connected to a project that we must have had way back when, and you meet the qualifications for it, so it pops up.
Okay, so it's only coming on my phone. It's not coming on your site, and nobody else can see what I'm saying.
Only you see that. That's like when people call me and they say, oh, Stan, you know, just like X-rated stuff is coming up on your gospel show. No, it's not. Yes, it is. I'm seeing it. You know, they got like XXX ads coming on. No, that's what you've been searching for, brother. What you mean? No. Google's putting ads up that it thinks you're interested in. Click.
All right, well, that's kind of strange, but I guess it's not that strange. I just said I'm seeing the same thing that I saw.
Yeah, that ad, Jonathan, is something that we must have had from way back when I was doing a project trying to find people.
Okay. All right, I figured I would just let you know that. And
There was just gunshots outside our house.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh.
Bang,
Okay.
bang, bang. 3 shots. 3 shots fired.
Outside of your house or on your street?
On our street.
On your street, oh, okay.
I heard it, so it must have been relatively close to the house, within, I'd say, 100 feet, because our house is soundproof. So for me to hear that, it's...
Well, that's kind of ironic because I guess last night when I called you, I must have called you maybe.
I hope someone didn't get shot.
Well, you know, you heard gunshots, so right now that's all that you can say. You know, you don't know if somebody got shot, but you just happen to hear gunshots. So,
well, the shot spotter will alert people. I'll imagine that I'll see lights out there shortly. There'll be canvas in the area.
Yeah.
I mean, if I wasn't on the air, I would get up and go out there and look and see, because I'm that neighbor.
Right.
And someone could be hurt.
Well, keep in mind, last night when I was calling you, I guess around the same exact time or very close to it, and it's not actually far from where I'm staying at now. The woman on Albany Avenue and Gardner Street, basically, she was hit. So pay very close attention to those gunshots, because usually that could be, you know, something obviously somebody could have easily have been shot. You said you heard 3.
Well, people have been shot out there before, and in fact, we had a bullet, as you know, come through our window here and lodge into the wall.
Yeah, I actually remember that incident. I never wanted to bring it on the public, but you did it. I mean, you stated it. I never wanted to bring that over the air, but obviously that has happened. So keep that very much in mind.
Right. Well, see, I'm not overly worried about stuff like that because I don't have any control over it. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but in the real world, folks shoot at each other because they can't resolve conflict any other way. It's been going on since Adam and Eve's oldest son killed their youngest son.
And that's exactly what we talked about actually last night, you know, the thing that you just mentioned about control. But the one thing I will say, you do have some control of your own personal behavior decisions. And I guess briefly, the woman basically, from what I was told, was in an argument with her boyfriend. And I guess he was going across the street, and maybe she was just not, I guess she was not paying attention, and some car was just driving at a high rate of speed. The person tried to slam on the brakes, ended up dragging her about 30 feet. So that's an individual behavioral decision. I really don't like to comment or make light on somebody's tragedy, because that might not sound really appropriate.
Right. That's a tragic situation, and it's unfortunate. The more troubling thing is that the person left the scene.
Exactly.
And people panic, and, you know, the window for them to turn themselves in is narrowing.
Yeah.
And, you know, they might have been fleeing from a crime or did something, you know. It's unfortunate, but these are things that are outside of our control. But one thing that you do say is that we have control over our own behavior. And that's all that you can control, is what you do. I can't control the folk that was shooting guns over here. I have no control over that.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Obviously.
I just don't.
And like you say, if you weren't on the air, you would obviously go outside and see exactly what is taking place and try to, you know, just come to some realization.
I have neighbors that'll do the same. I can't. I'm not the only one that heard that.
Yeah. I guess you kind of answered the two questions. I mean, I think I stated three questions in total about Dr. Claus Anderson's failure for group economics. And thanks for correcting me on my pronunciation. Obviously, I did have some grammar
I wouldn't worry about it. My grammar is not. I'm not in a position to be correcting anybody's English.
Well, actually, texting you have to be very careful because when you text something, that's why many times I have to go over it and correct it and say I meant this because I make many mistakes when I text. So you're right about that.
Yeah, I'm so bad that once upon a time, folk wouldn't let me publish stuff because I would, because I've always run stuff, so I'll come up with something in the middle of the night and go out and get 500 printed, and then I say, okay, I got the things printed. And people go, oh no, please tell us that you didn't do that. Yeah, but it's good. Oh my gosh, you be transposing letters. There it is, misspelled. This, Stan, look, just let us proof it first. So, those are human mistakes. People will jump on you online, though. Be careful.
Yeah, you're right. You have to be extremely careful. People look at those things. But like I said, with the questions I asked, I think the third question was the best response that I liked about the churches and how you have to have that spiritual unity to be involved. And many people, will look at the money revenue stream that they can generate, and that's what they want to tap into. And actually, Dr. Kubasa guy was the first person that actually told me that he felt, particularly in the Black communities, the only large source of generating revenue is through the churches. And he gave me the suggestion one time to go to, I guess, the First Cathedral Church and try to see if they would be willing to, invest their money in a different way. So that is a real tremendous asset, I think, towards group economics. I can't think of no better example when you look at how the unity, because sometimes people will say that, certain Black people are not unified, but it looks like the churches, in most cases, the congregations and the members are always seems to be unified.
When people say Blacks aren't unified, particularly when Black folks say that, it means that among the group of people they know, there's no unity. But to suggest that Black folk aren't unified is just a sign of somebody's ignorance. They just don't know who those folk are. There's plenty of Black folk that are unified. There's plenty of Black folk that do great things common and together. And are not going to be pushed off by folk who don't succeed in unifying for economic gain. Just because people are unaware of it doesn't mean it's not happening. They just don't know who or where those things are. That's all. There's plenty of them. In every group, there's people who are unified and moving forward. And with every group, there's a sector of people who don't succeed. Some groups, individuals who were not on the prosperous curve don't get identified as much as, per se, don't get identified as much as, let's say, members of the African American community might be. But there's plenty of folk who don't do well. All right, they're just not highlighted.
Well, even if that's the case, wouldn't that kind of contradict Dr. Claus Anderson's? And I'm pretty sure Dr. Claude Anderson works in a circle where he sees successful Black people and he sees a tremendous level of unity. But he always seems to paint the picture that the permanent underclass social economic structure has really failed, particularly in the cities where most Black people reside.
Right, but I think we talked a little about this yesterday. There's a reason why, and this cannot be ignored. And bring a little Bible in it. The Bible says you will always have the poor. They will always be there. There are places where folks who don't have money congregate. And if you're in the rescuing business, like Dr. Claude Anderson is, and like many of us who are, have a kind of pastor's heart and see people in need and want to help those people, like a firefighter who wants to rescue people from a burning building. It takes a certain type of individual to run into a burning building and save folk. They're trying to rescue people. And so the firefighter that goes into the building and was unable to save people is going to be hard pressed. It weighs on them. Or the doctor who lost a patient in the emergency room on the operating table. You did the best you can, but the person was in terrible condition. They were in the building that burned. You went in, you saved 15 people. 5 didn't make it. That's not a reflection on you. It's a reflection on the fact that they were in a burning building. And you can't save everybody. The desire among many is you see folk who are in desperate need. And so you want to do something about it. And so nobility of mission takes over a lot of times. So now you're off to the races to try and help these people. And it doesn't seem like anything you do works. It can be because there's a reason that folk are in the state they're in. And sometimes it's no fault of their own, but everybody isn't going to be successful. And so if a person is satisfied if a person is content in the state that they're in and the state they're in is not to have a lot, is it my place or your place to say they must have a better quality of life? Who are you or I to judge that their quality of life is not sufficient for them? Now, I'm not talking about somebody that is strung out laying on the street and need help.
Yeah.
That person needs help. But there's a lot of demons a lot of times that people have to overcome. So it's sort of like the Narcan with Mark Jenkins and his organization and one of the comments he made in the documentary. When you save someone's life with Narcan, you at least give them an opportunity for a second chance to turn their life around. All right? You give them the opportunity to turn their life around. But they have to be the ones that turn their life around. You can't make people do stuff. And so my thing is that don't condemn people to a lifestyle that is going to be permanently detrimental to them. There are those who do that, and I have a very big ought with them. At the very least, help people take advantage of opportunities and give them as many opportunities as possible. If they don't take advantage of them, then you've done your part. You know. So Dr. Claude Anderson he's got a noble undertaking by him and a whole lot of other people. But there's a reason why, despite your best effort, things don't change. It is not always because there's some conspiracy against people.
Yeah. Well, I admire Dr. Claude Anderson, but I think I have to be careful because I think with people like Dr. Claude Anderson, and you actually mentioned Howard Hill, who's been very instrumental in bringing Dr. Claude Anderson to Hartford and to Connecticut, and he definitely supports Dr. Claude Anderson's vision. But it looks like to me, and I could be wrong, Dr. Claude Anderson's approach is almost like you have to come up to his level. He's not going to really come down. Although he does come to the community, you actually have to pay him.
Right, but Jonathan, that makes sense, though.
It does.
I mean, if you want to come to where success is, then you have to come. People have to do something to get there. It's not like just because someone waved a wand, now all of a sudden you look up, go to sleep, wake up. Oh my goodness, I'm in a new house with new furniture and new clothes and a new lifestyle, and I ain't got no more worries. This just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but let me say something. I don't want to spill dirty laundry because sometimes that might come across the wrong way. Dr. Claude Anderson advocates that people should stay in their urban communities. You know, he's not in favor of integration and these type of things. He felt it's going to destroy many of the black communities. And on one hand, he says that, but then on the other hand, he lives in Bethesda, Maryland, a real affluent part, which is not really urban America. And I agree, people should have the right to want to live where they want to live. It's almost like where you stand. You know, you still live in Hartford, from what I understand. You don't live in West Hartford. You don't live in Bloomfield. You are advocating changes for Hartford, and you don't have to live in the city that you're advocating changes for to really make a difference. But, you know, you're trying to help people at the bottom, and you are there where people can see you pretty much every single day. You know, you're not removed from people. And I don't want to criticize Dr. Claude Anderson for making a personal decision of wanting to live where you want to live. But again, you know, you want to reach people. You're talking about urban America. People need to reinvest their money and their resources there. But these are the people that are living there, that are affected by the issues every single day. You, on one hand, you don't technically live there. You have your businesses, you have your operation in Bethesda. You are advocating issues for urban America. Bethesda is not an urban America in a city, and it has no similarities toward that type of level. So I just think, you know, Dr. Claude Anderson is a brilliant person. His knowledge base is tremendous. You can't even question about his history of experiences. But I think what you're trying to do, and I think Minister Louis Farrakhan is also a little bit different too, because Minister Farrakhan, I think to some degree, if you don't have money, he'll still sometimes come to where you're at. I mean, I could be wrong about that part. I know most times somebody's traveling, you do have to pay them accommodations and all of that. So that part I clearly understand. But I think his approach, Minister Farrakhan, I think kind of comes down, and you see examples when you see the people in the Nation of Islam papers. You can call, right? That point of view is the other paper. And I think Minister Farrakhan is more likely the guy that doesn't have a formal education, the guy that is a high school dropout, who wants to improve their self. I think his approach kind of reaches them a little bit more, where Dr. Claude Anderson's approach kind of means you got to have post-secondary training, post-secondary education. So that's what I kind of meant when you have to come up to their level.
But I think you know, I mean, you bring up a good point, John. But to your point,
I think we need both.
We do need both, but community improvement is the collective result of self-improvement. If a community is made up of 100 people and 50 of the 100 don't contribute, the whole community is not going to rise. The 50 who did something now have something that they can share, and they can pull along the 50 that didn't do anything. All right? So if you'd made a real basic analogy of, in order for us to get up this mountain, we need all 100 of us. And there are certain elements of this where we each are going to have to climb. We're going to make a human ladder. And then once the guy gets to the top, he's going to have to hold on. And everyone's going to climb up until they finally get up there. So we need the strongest guy to go last and climb up and get on and hold us. So everyone has to do their part. Some people are going to have to exercise a little bit more than others, but everyone has to contribute. And so the guy that doesn't contribute to what degree do we owe him to keep dragging him along? If he's a dear and dear friend, that's fine, but we can't have more who are not contributing, reaping the benefits of those that do contribute. So, by their own actions, they disassociate themselves from the group because they're not participating. And at some point, you have to make a decision. Am I going to spend my entire life trying to pull up people who don't want to do better for themselves? Or do I move forward and at some point start to enjoy the fruit of my labor, which I can enjoy at any moment, but I keep sacrificing my fruit. I keep limiting my opportunities to move forward and have a better quality of life, trying to pick up people from behind. And so when he talks about, whole communities where you have doctors and lawyers and everybody all together, their presence helps inspire others. They want to be like, I want to be like Dr. So-and-so. I want to be like so-and-so. He's a teacher. I want to be like so-and-so. He's a police officer. I want to be like so-and-so. He's a city councilor. I want to be like so-and-so. They do this, that, and the other thing. And so the whole community is there to receive the benefit of everybody, the care of everyone. And so if people in the community that are notable start to leave, then all you have left are those who can't do. And so at what point in the real world do we start to call those who can't what it is? So you're going to always have a permanent underclass by definition. You refer to the permanent underclass. Well, that's why they're the permanent underclass. They're the permanent underclass because of a whole lot of different things. It's not a dig on them, but if you're going to come up with solutions that are practical and can be implemented and effectively help people, you have to deal with the reality, not with the fuzzy things that's not, well, you very offensive calling people permanent underclass. Well, what do you call it? What do you call it? Dog, pony, call it whatever you want. It doesn't change what it is until we start to deal with stuff for what it is, we can't fix it. And so if you're going to have people who are in a permanent state of underclass, then the question is, why are they in that state? Are they in that state because there's an outside entity or agency that is forcing them to stay there? Are they in that state because they are compromised in terms of their desire to move out of that state? Because the entities that benefit from their depressed status, millions of dollars, over the long haul, helping manage the poor. So are they managing people who can't do better? Or are they enabling people to not do better? And there needs to be a means and a way by which we identify those who can't do better from those who don't want to do better. And those who want to do better but are being hindered. The ones that want to do better and are being hindered should be given all help and aid and resources in order to improve their condition. Those that want to do that want to do better but just can't, they just can't. They don't have the capacity to, for whatever reason. Well, those people are the ones that you don't want to have fall through the cracks. All right? And those are the people that you help. You help them for whatever their issue is. Maybe they are developmentally challenged, okay, and don't have the intellectual capacity to be able to do more than they do. Others might have a disability that prevents them from being able to be contributing members of the workforce. Others may have psychological issues. There's real issues that cause people to be where they're at. And so, and then there are those individuals who choose not to do better even though they can. Well, that's their right. If that's the life you want to live, that's up to you. People got a right to be a hobo and ride the railroad if that's what they want. Some people make that a conscious decision. They're not looking for anyone to come along and help them. That's the life they chose. So, you know, all of the desire to help other folk do stuff is admirable. It is good. And you need those kinds of people setting policy and making some decisions so that you're always sensitive to the needs of the least in the community. But as a practical conversation and a practical means by which to get things done, we don't have an impact on what other people do, but we do have an impact on what we do. And so I like to have conversations with people who are in a position to change their status, because the only people we could change is ourselves. Or we can have studies and do white papers, and we could write dissertations and theses on all kinds of stuff that needs to be done in our opinion. But at the end of the day, now what?
Yeah, well, I heard everything that you stated, and I guess let me just give two the best comparisons or examples that I could say that kind of might trim it down to more of a realistic level. You mentioned something that, we got different characteristics of people that fall through the cracks for different reasons. It's almost like, to me, the theory of the 20% of people that's going to make it regardless of what you do or whatever you don't do. Then you have the 20% at the bottom that's going to always be the ones that's going to fall and do wrong, regardless if you provide the right circumstances or not. And then you almost have this 60% of people that can go either way given the right circumstances. And even when I mentioned about, let's say Dr. Claude Anderson and people like Howard Hill, you have to kind of rise yourself up to their level to interact with them a little bit differently than maybe Minister Farrakhan or yourself. Have your strategies, how you can reach down with people who really don't have the same intellects or may not have the same financial means. When you're on a basketball team like the Lakers, I'm a big Lakers fan back in the 80s, you had the superstars like Kareem, Magic Johnson that are your high scorers. They get the most, notoriety. But then you got people like Kurt Rambis, who used to do the grunt work, dive for loose balls, take the fouls. He's not the popular player. He doesn't really get the money, he doesn't get the fame, but he's still on the team, and he's still contributing by doing the dirty work. And even in your community, you're going to have so-called leaders out in the forefront who's going to get the cameras, who's going to get the press conferences. They're going to be the ones that people are going to see. But then you may have other people behind closed doors that's out there doing the day-to-day labor work that don't draw the attraction, don't draw the money, don't draw the appeal, but they're still valuable too. So it's almost like you have an office or a corporate building, and even the janitor who's picking up garbage still plays a role, because if he's not there, your office is going to look dirty. Even though he's not the CEO, he's not in the corporate level, he's not the administrative level, the janitor is still a very valuable part of the building because he keeps the place clean.
Right, but what is your point, Jonathan?
The point is we all have a role in, I think, our society where we can contribute and make a difference.
And having said that, now what? What is your point?
I think the hard part is implementing it.
No. This is the circular conversation that we're having. They are contributing. They're doing what they do. There's nothing to implement. Everyone makes their contribution by default. Everybody.
Yeah.
Even the guy who is constantly ODing and needs to be picked up, and the ambulance guy gets a job because of it, and the doctor and everybody else, and the guy that breaks the law, and the lawyer gets and the bail bondsman gets everyone plays their role, great, small, or indifferent, because they are a part of the fabric of the community.
Right.
That's totally different from economic development that is going to impact people who want to make a change. All economic development doesn't help everybody. It helps those who want to take a part in it.
Right.
Now, the folk that ain't doing nothing aren't going to do anything but want to enjoy the benefit of those who are. They're not going to get nothing. That's just the hard truth. you don't want to fight for a better change in your own personal life, then you're not going to enjoy it. It's not a windfall that's going to come to somebody simply because they're there and they can contribute. Well, because you can contribute doesn't automatically mean you are contributing to the economic development.
Well, wouldn't that almost be the same thing as, like, if you're a member of the church?
It's exactly the same thing. If you want the benefit that comes from being at Rehoboth or at First Cathedral, then join.
That's what I was going to say. You have to be actually a member.
Why shouldn't you be?
Right.
Why should you be able to benefit from the work of the congregation of First Cathedral? Just sacrificed and did all that was necessary to be able to build that enterprise out there in Bloomfield, to go through the political wrangling and all of that other stuff, to make the sacrifices, to put everything on the line, and then attract people who have a common cause and a common vision, drama, no drama, whatever the case may be, and then have to go through the daily grind of enough revenue to keep it open, even though people move out, kids grow up and they go on, people age out. There's a constant shift in the revenue. There's never, ever a way to track. They don't make anything. They're totally dependent upon the goodwill of their congregation and the membership. And if they're good stewards, they might have individuals within their congregation who know how to make proper investments. So when the church has an overage in monies, they put those monies in the bank. They invest their money, not so that they can give it away to the community, so that when they need to spend $100,000 to replace the air conditioning unit, they have the money. So that when they have to spend $3.5 million to replace the parking lot, they have the money. So that when they have to spend $1.5 million to replace the roof, they have the money.
Right.
They're not a enterprise that just because they're a church and they live in the community, they got to give all their money away to who? Folk that don't want to do nothing except be the beneficiary of what the church is doing. That's not the church's job.
Yeah, Dr. Cooper Oscar guy, I wish was the one that really you could talk to him about that, because
I've talked to Cuba about that. Cuba thinks the church has a responsibility and to give to the organization. But Cuba is not a Bible believing, Bible thumping Christian either.
Yes.
That's not the church's job. That may be what Cuba Ostagai and others think, and I respect Dr. Ostagai, but what he thinks the church ought to do as an agency or an entity within the community that he's reduced to a business because he doesn't buy into the spiritual component of the church. The church's primary job as an institution that has a being because of the Bible is to win the lost to Christ. Period. That's the only job the church has, is to win the lost to Christ. Now, the members of the church, as members of the community, may have a responsibility to their community as good citizens, just like corporate community has a responsibility. But it's not the responsibility of United Technologies to pay for Hartford's community parades and all of that. They may choose to do so, but they're in business to produce a profit for their shareholders. Beyond that, it's their largesse, it's their philanthropic effort, and it's to be championed. But they don't have an obligation to do any of that stuff. Now, we want them to. Why? Because we want what they got.
Yeah.
We want what they got. So 70% of the people in the church, not even 70%, it's like 90%, but I'll give you 70. 70% of the people at a church are takers. 10 to 30% are givers. They're the ones that give. Everyone else is there to get what they can get. And then the community around the church, they see affluence going in and out. They got Mercedes. They got nice Volvos. They got nice houses. And look at us. We ain't got nothing. They come in here all solidified and think they better than everybody else. They are better than you because they got something you don't.
Right.
So, but do you feel, and I don't mean this to you personally, does the individual who sits there and criticizes the church, Do they have enough gumption to even go and join the church? Then when they join, what are they joining for? So that they can what? Take. They're not coming to join the church so that they can give. The basic principle of reaping what comes out of the ground is that you have to first sow into the ground. If you want to make money selling heroin, then you need to grow some poppies.
Right.
Now, there's the 1 acre. You could do a whole lot. You could grow corn, you could grow poppies, you could grow hemp, you could put a building there, you could dig and maybe get oil or gold. It's just a plot of land. Now, what you do with it determines what you do. I was watching squirrels earlier today. Squirrels running around getting stuff, digging. He's picking up stuff and running across the parking lot, digging in the dirt, patting it down. Run back, pick up another thing, run back over to another piece of dirt, putting it in the ground. He doesn't know whether someone will come and eat his little stash. He's getting ready for the winter time. It's work. He's not eating up everything he gets and sit around being happy and fat and dumb and just fall out because he didn't ate so much. He's working for the winter.
Right.
That human beings are no different. And they got a brain, a big brain. So they have the capacity to do so much more than the squirrel. But the squirrels make it. The sparrows make it. The giraffes make it. The antelopes make it. The amoebas make it. The kangaroos make it. The gorillas make it. The monkeys make it. The gazelles make it. Every animal on the planet seems to survive without a social program. But people, they can't get out to bed and walk down the street and get a drink of water without some help. That's unacceptable to me. So if folk want to suffer, that's their choice. They're grown. But if people want better, Jonathan, they have to, at the very least, help in helping themselves get better. That's just me.
Yeah, well,
and I loves people.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I really wish Dr. Guy could give his response on what you said about the churches, because I know he has a lot of.
Call him. Tell him to call me up. I'll have a conversation with him on the phone.
Yeah, I can't reach him for some reason, but I think I can go through Femi possibly to get the Dr. Guy and have this conversation, because the only thing I can actually remember he mentioning about some reasons why the churches should not be let off the hook is that they don't pay in taxes. And where's that money going to that they're saving from not paying taxes?
It doesn't matter where it goes. Maybe they're burning the money. Who cares? See, the only people that care where the church's money go are the folks that aren't at the church. Mm-hmm. That argument doesn't hold any water with me. It's always used, particularly in our community, for not doing or not supporting a thing. Well, why should we support them? What they gonna do with the money? So folk would rather not have a thing than to support something and someone else make money, which is, it's ludicrous. Everyone concerned about where the money's going, because the real concern isn't that someone else is making the money. The concern is that they are not, which is the premise for why they can't get nothing done as a community or as a group. And when I say as a group, I mean as a group that they would like to see successful. That's not to say that all African Americans can't succeed because they won't work together. There's plenty of African Americans that will work together. They just aren't part of those groups. And the one reason why they're not part of it is because they have a mindset that they're not going to help nobody if they don't make money. They're not willing to give.
Well, even if that's the case, even Dr. Claude Anderson, who works with a lot of successful black people throughout the country or throughout his hometown or throughout his area, will still tell you that there's other factors that's destroying the black urban community too. So you can say, and like I said, I don't know Dr. Claude Anderson personally, so I'm only going by what I went to. Two of his events. I think the last event that he came here to Hartford, and came very close to getting Dr. Claude Anderson as a guest appearance on, I guess, All About You. But given that's and some people would even say that, Dr. Claude Anderson's, we could find people that can pretty much say the same thing that Dr. Claude Anderson is advocating in your own community. I mean, you did an excellent job tonight breaking down many different areas and giving really valid reasons and even a solution. So, we got you right here in the community. We don't have to always go outside and bring in Dr. Claude Anderson and other people at that level. But again, I support Howard Hill. I think he, supports Dr. Claude Anderson, and that's all fine and dandy. It is an interesting conversation because many times, even this conversation about the churches, sometimes people get confused and try to say, well, what is the real role of the church now? Do you want the church to be doing things that they are not designed to do?
The only people that have that discussion are folk that are not in the church. The church knows what it's supposed to do. And members of churches know what their role is. Pastors, no matter what their denominational affiliation is, they know what they're supposed to do. The only people that have that conversation are folk that aren't members of churches.
Well,
and they are patently disqualified from saying what a church should or should not be doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fun conversation, but when very few people, well, I shouldn't say very few people, but anytime anyone has that conversation with me, this is what they're met with. What I'm doing right now. What do they know about the church?
Well, truthfully, this does not technically be about the church, but I know one time Pastor Donald Johnson and his, I think it was the Hope Street Ministries, the one thing he was knocking the other ministers or the other pastors that they wouldn't all come together. He never kind of, divided the churches and criticized other churches because he's a member of a church. But he was always having this belief that if all of the and you are a pastor too, so I guess you are included too in this argument, that if all of the pastors was to kind of unify themselves and come together, even right here in Hartford, it would make a tremendous impact. And I think even Pastor Donald Johnson, from what he told me, feels that that's really not happening. A few pastors come together here, and even Reverend Henry Brown has been told, and this is something a little bit differently, that it's not every pastor's calling to be out there on the street corner doing that type of community activist work.
Well, I know Pastor. I know Henry, Reverend Brown. I know Pastor Henry Brown, or Reverend Henry Brown, because I don't think he's pastoring. But nonetheless, I know him very, very well. And pastors are people.
Pastor Donald Johnson too, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And pastors are people. Now, my pushback is not my opinion. It's the word. If the whole body were an eye, where would the hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the smelling be? Where would the taste be? If the whole body was a hand? See, the body is designed to be diverse. It does different things. The whole body works together. Just imagine if your whole body would just stop fighting and just be an eye. Imagine what you could do as a whole eye sitting on the street. Just being an eye. You could see everything then because your eye would be real big. Okay, now, of course, you sitting in the middle of the street, a big eye. You can't get out the way when a car comes. Why? Because you ain't got no feet. The feet are part of the eye. So the whole body works together. Body ministry. Everyone does. To each man, he is given a measure of faith. Each man is given gifts according as the Spirit of God sees fit to give. Now, one person is called to do a particular type of ministry. Another person is called to do a different type of ministry. Reverend Henry Brown's ministry is a very taxing ministry. There's a lot on his mind, a lot on his spirit. He's been at funerals beyond measure. A lot of pastors, myself included, don't like going to or doing funerals. Henry does them all the time, and he sees the despair, and so it's very taxing on him. Everyone can't do what he does, but thank God he's there to do it. Right. And people talk about the cameras. The cameras aren't always around him. The cameras may come because the news likes to highlight the kinds of drama that goes around or on associated with the death and dying of people impacted by poverty in the inner city and the sensationalism of someone being shot. So the cameras come. But he deals with that too. He also deals and has to deal with the criticism of being always around when the cameras come. Because a lot of preachers like to point at that because it gives them an easy out for not stepping up to the plate and helping him at some meager level, at the very least, helping to support what he does. But all that having been said, you're still dealing with flawed people. But Henry also does not have the burden of 500 people to minister to every week, and to go and see their problems and to see their issues and to see their trials and tribulations as a pastor trying to lead 200 people. And the 200 people are made up of 25 families with 4 people in each of them. And the one family is having a divorce issues. The other family, well, the wife is out cheating on the husband. On the other family, just found out that the husband's married to 2 women. The other woman lives in another town. Okay, the kids is hooked on opioids. The one girl is 17 years old, but she's been sleeping with one of the other pastors. With another minister in the church. Okay, the choir director is gay and has half the church turned out. See, these are real life issues that nobody wants to talk about. That don't see what the pastor is going through. And then he makes some suggestions out of how things could happen to make some changes. And the people who are responsible for the church's money tell him if he say another word about this, he's going to be looking for another church to pastor. See, that's what pastors have to go through. But no one talks about it, and it's really nobody's business. The pastor isn't trying to find sympathy or excuses, but they are human. So when folk come along talking about what the church needs to do and should be doing, they don't have a clue about what preachers or pastors do across the country and around the world. They are quick to criticize with very little understanding of what service the church provides to the city. I'll tell you one thing, if the churches in a city close down, they'll know very real and with the quickness what the church provided. Because you'll see a rise up of evil and criminal activity and all kinds of stuff. You see, when churches leave communities, particularly impoverished communities, even if they're little storefront churches, they're replaced by usually elements that are not good and bring no benefit to the community. So the church provides a tremendous role to the community, as though other nonprofits, it's not always about the money. It's more about the service, and the money is a tool that helps support those services. People have money totally mixed up because they have a love for money, which incidentally is the root of all evil. It's not about the money. It's about the service. And the money is just a tool. That's all it is. It's all it is. It's just a tool. And people need to reprioritize and realign how they look at money.
Yeah. Well, you said one thing. Actually, you said many different things, but I just want to kind of give you or put you an example, because actually Pastor Donald Johnson told me the same thing over 10 years ago, that, his responsibility, he has a personal family he has to deal with. He has his own personal church and congregation that he has to deal with. He has his own job that he has to deal with. Those are 3 different burdens that he has to go through. And then people from the outside that's not in the church community, people bring their problems to him. He's taking that role at that time of being part of the Hope Street ministry, which he's kind of passed the torch along to Reverend Brown. So that was like a 4th different, obstacle he was dealing with.
And he's and they're not alone. As one person here writes, pastors as a group can accomplish much, but so can any group of motivated individuals.
But to get to the point that I was saying when he was telling me about the unification of people in the community saw the pastors kind of together, I don't think in most cases you've been disrespected as a pastor. I don't think people, well, maybe they have. Usually, when it used to be a time when you had a pastor, people in the community wouldn't drink, they wouldn't indulge in smoking marijuana in front of a pastor, they kind of would give the pastor a sense of high level of respect.
I have never been disrespected as a pastor to the degree, Jonathan, that most people that I know don't swear, which we know they do, but they don't swear around me. So in my worldview, I never hear people swear. I hear people swear, and I'm shocked that they use that kind of language, but they swear all the time. You know who swears around me all the time?
No, you gotta tell me.
Other preachers.
Oh, okay.
They're the only ones that feel comfortable swearing around me. Everyone else, no one else swears. But pastors are people too, okay? They feel comfortable about swearing around around other pastors. But because they're being real. They're being themselves. Okay, they never swear in front of their congregations. So I always tell whenever I'm around a lot of preachers, I say, look, let's keep it real. Your congregations think you walk on water. I know otherwise. So let's have that conversation and keep it real. We're gonna leave all that doc and pastor stuff and bishop and all that outside, because that's for as my wife likes to tell me when I make certain arguments. Stan, I live with you. Stop. That's we forget who you're talking to. I don't drink the Kool-Aid. I know you. All right. I was, okay. Well, maybe that was kind of like my intent, So, but the reality is, Jonathan, people have an expectation. They see the church as a potential revenue stream that can be helpful in the community, and it can. But that the church is not under obligation to do that. And if the community really wants the church to do that, then it needs to approach the church with an economic plan that will be beneficial, not just expect the church to just start pouring money out. And, I've done movies about this subject where, I try and put a pressure on the churches to do just what you're talking about. But I understand, and believe me when I tell you, the church doesn't owe the community anything. The church owes Jesus something. And that's who they are in service to. That's who they're in service to. It's not the churches. The church is not government. It is government's role to make sure that community needs are taken care of through the process which we have of representative government. But once again, if people don't take advantage of that, people actually have to do some heavy lifting. They got to get involved. The suburban people, they're involved in their government. Not all of them, but a whole lot more than the urban areas. And we've already discussed why they are not. So, all right, Jonathan.
Yeah, I guess it's 12 o'clock, so I didn't realize the time flew by, and I'm kind of actually glad we had this conversation, and hopefully this won't be the last time. Hopefully maybe you'll have a pastor or somebody else.
Well, this is how Jonathan got a show, y'all, because Jonathan would call me up on the phone and talk to me for 3 hours. I said, Jonathan, look, well, you need to have your own television program, because I can't be your audience all day, son. I got stuff to do, all right? So maybe you need to come back and do your show, Jonathan.
Yeah, well, I'll give you a break. This was the last day that you were going to be doing your open forum for what you was telling me. So
yeah, this is it. I know you're trying to get your talk in. but that's okay. Anyone else can call. The number's on the screen. All they got to do is call if they think it's time for you to get off the air. They can call in and bump you off, and no one's done that. I just as soon talk to you than sit here and ramble, so I'm glad you called.
Yeah, because sometimes actually people could just be listening. I mean, hopefully people are listening, at least one or two.
People are listening. People are listening.
Okay. All right, well, good. Again, good conversation, and I guess, we'll talk again at some point. Okay.
I know we'll talk again.
All right, you have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, Jonathan will talk all night, and so will I. I mean, there's a lot of times I get off the air and I'm on the phone. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm on the phone talking to people. Okay, because I like to talk. I will admit that I am a talkaholic. I've been in recovery for some time as a talkaholic, and I can't. I always fall back in, and my sponsor is never around when I get into a little need to talk, and so I just start talking. All right, so I'm a talkaholic in recovery. That's what I tell people. 860-944-9797. If you have a question, comment, or remark that you would like to make, by all means, the phone number is there. We will stay as long as you want to talk. All right. It's Open Forum Thursday. This is the day that we do set aside specifically for Open Forum. Usually from Sunday to Wednesday, it's my commentary as I have Bible study and do my political commentary as well as commentary on the news and events of the day. But the Thursdays is strictly a Bible study. Is strictly a open forum thing. So you can feel free to get on the phone and call, and we'll talk. I'll talk all night. Okay, but we have fulfilled our commitment to be here for at least 1 hour. All right, because all open forums, I'm willing to be here 1 hour, even if no one calls, so that we could say we gave people a whole hour and no one called. All right, 860-944-9797. What do you think? What's on your mind? Okay. The topic isn't on the table, but Jonathan did bring it up. Now, see, if this was talk radio, then we would use as the launch point the whole thing around the churches. Should the churches be paying for stuff in the community? I mean, they take from the community, right? Their money comes from members of the community. That money's untaxed. Where's our return as the people that are underwriting it? They should at the very least pay taxes. Well, get on the phone and tell me what you think. That's how you would do it if it was talk radio. But this isn't talk radio. This is your opportunity to talk to the community in a format that you might not normally have. And so, since I use this medium in this format, I think it's only fair that you have the same opportunity. Whoever it is, all you gotta do is call. All right, that way the playing field is level. I don't have to do that, but we do. All right, and we're not just on Facebook. We're on all kinds of stuff. So the program is seen on a multitude of platforms. It's just the Facebook audience that we allow to use the thread in order to talk back and to talk to us. All right. So 860-944-9797. I generally really don't expect people to call. I'm serious. This is not reverse psychology. I would like to think that when we talk about things that I communicate in such a way that's effective enough so that there are no questions. Effective communicator communicates and all questions are resolved in the communication. Turn left at the end of the street. That's an effective communique. Now, if you get to the end of the street and can't remember which way I said, then now you got to come back. Which way you say? Turn left. Like left? Or like left like if I'm coming towards you left? Now you have to break it down a little bit more so that your communication is different. Do you know which way Washington Street is? Yes. When you get to the end of the block, you want to turn and head toward Washington Street. See how you've changed that? So now there should be no questions. It's more direct than go to the end of the block and turn left. Go to the end of the block and turn toward Washington Street. Do you know where Washington Street is? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. All right. You should be good. That's effective communication. All right. What makes effective communique? when the person you're sending the information to gets it. So just because you put an envelope in the mail doesn't mean that the person got it. Like these envelopes here. I got 2 envelopes. And there's 47 cents on each of them. I'm going to cover up the entity. All right, so there's 2 47-cent envelopes that someone sent to me in order to put money in here and send it back. Now, this is stamped February the 19th. This one's February the 5th. So I don't know whether the print, whether the postage expires on that time or whether that's the date in which the stamps were done. But this is almost $1. I don't know how many of these they sent out, but it's likely that they spent the to use these envelopes to send something else. I didn't want to throw it in the trash because 47 cents, that don't make sense, right? I mean, I wasn't going to send them any money, but it would be nice to at least respect the fact that this is a 47-cent envelope. So I didn't want to throw it in the trash because, I mean, that would be reckless and irresponsible, okay? Because if you're not faithful over 47 cents, why should anyone give you $1? You throw 47 cents in the trash, right? Okay, so I have this, but the idea was I would put something in here and send it back. So were they effective? Well, I guess it's effective in that it got here. I didn't even read what they sent me. I opened it and I saw these envelopes. They were folded up. Just like this. This is, all right. Here, this is the envelope. Okay. And I don't even know what the letter said. It was not effective. Not only wasn't it effective, they sent me a stand. So they sent me 2 envelopes, 47 cents in each. This is someone probably paid for these envelopes, donated the envelopes. Someone came along and said, well, we'll do $500 in postage for your fundraising thing. And so they just put the stickers on the mail amount. See, it's different when the money's coming out of your pocket. You're a little bit more sensitive. How many of these we send into the same household? So you vet your list. These are all kinds of things people need to be sensitive to. All right? Okay. Now, the effective communication would be something that, what is a development director?
Here's something I found on Wikipedia. The Colorado House of Representatives is the lower house of the Colorado General Assembly, the state legislature of the U.S. state of Colorado. Did that answer your question?
Not. So you listen to your device telling you how to get from point A to point B, and it gives you wrong directions, and you don't even realize. You're just following the directions. It said turn here, so you turn. How do you know that it knows where you really want it? Where is it actually taking you? Think about that. Someone hack into your device is telling you how to get to somewhere and bring you right to where you could get robbed. Alexa, what is a development director?
A development director, the senior financial officer of an organization, company, or corporation.
The senior financial officer. So usually that person is responsible for the organization's fundraising arm as well. So, Alexa, what does the development director do?
A film director is a person who directs the making of a film. A film director controls the film's artistic and dramatic aspects and visualizes the screenplay while guiding the technical crew and actors in the fulfillment of that vision. The director has a key role in choosing the cast members, production design, and the creative aspects of filmmaking.
I know that. Alexa, What are the duties of the development director? Do you know who the most effective and efficient individuals are? Experts at raising money. The rules are the same. 1, they establish a rapport with the potential donor. 2, they grow and establish a relationship with the potential donor. 3, they define the reason and rationale for you to give. Right? 4, I don't think I lost count, but I might have. 4, or next, they make the ask. And finally, you give them the money. It's that simple. It doesn't matter whether you're asking for campaign contribution. It doesn't matter whether you're asking for, $1,000 for a project that you want to do. You're raising money for your little team to go somewhere. It's all the same. But one thing is necessary is to have a relationship. So if you're doing it by mail, you don't send just one off and ask for money. You have to establish a relationship, and generally speaking, it takes at least 7 pieces of mail to cross the threshold of your door before you will give them a dime, or for that matter, before they even realize or recognize what it is that you want. They usually goes right in the trash. So it's going to take 7 pieces to come across before they understand and realize. How many pages is the ask? You don't need one ask. You need at least 4 pages, one side. Not double spaced, but broken up into paragraphs. So that when you ask, right, you put all kinds of different reasons for why, what, the story of now, who you are, and all these things. There's best practices to this. A good development director can raise some money. Came on late, but glad you identified what the topic was. The churches have been involved I've been involved with various services to their parishioners via food, clothing, housing, counseling, resources, So as far as paying for things to go to the community, I agree. It's not really their role. Their service to their community is to speak the word, yes. Encourage folks to do good, yes. To do good unto others, yes. And encourage folks to have faith and walk in faith in their daily lives, in my opinion. Your opinion is correct, and it's substantiated in the word. That is the role. That's what churches do. The community that churches serve is the community that attends the church. A lot of times the community outside the church gets it mixed up. They think that the church's service should be to them, even though they're not part of the community. They may be a part of the community that the building is in, but they're not a part of the community that the church serves. Right? If you want to do a one-on-one in terms of who owes the community the most, it would be the drug dealer. Now, the drug dealer owes the community everything, because they are taking their money directly from the community. Now, there may be a caveat to that argument in that people come in, but the drug dealer does have clientele that are directly in the community. Not all of his clients or her. They don't give anything back to the community or society. What do they give? Nothing. They take. Straight out the box takers. So where is the call to boycott drug dealers? Because they don't give nothing back to the community. I'm being facetious. And I am very well aware of that. I must add, many pastors like you and A.J. Johnson do things for the community, like the back-to-school greetings, which I feel is very valuable service to the community, not just their parishioners. Well, I thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, church folk do lots of stuff that benefit the broader community around their church. That's also part of our outreach that we are compelled to do. So, you can't win souls to the church if you don't go outside of the walls of the church. So the church is very much so trying to win the lost to Christ. But the church's responsibility is to the head of the church, which is Jesus, who's the head. The church is the body of Christ. It's the community of Christ. By definition, the church, ecclesia, out-called ones. The church is made up of people called out from the world. Out-called ones, ecclesia. So they make up the church. A church is a group of individuals called from outside of itself to constitute itself. All right. So by definition, a church is exclusive. It's exclusive. A church is extremely exclusive. If you're not a member, you do not share in the benefits. It's like American Express. You want the benefits of American Express, you gotta have the card. You don't have the card, ain't gonna help you. Right? Membership has its privileges. So you got to be a member. Without being a member, you don't get the benefit. You don't get the benefit. It's like having a medical plan. Right? If you don't have the insurance, you're not part of the medical group, so you go to the hospital, oh, you don't have insurance. I'm sorry, we can't help you. Right? Now the hospital will give you aid and comfort. They're not gonna let you bleed out in the lobby. All right. Now you might be in a nursing home. You're not a member, but if they could keep you behind in there over 30 days, they'll keep you for life, bleed you dry. All right. So there is a broader discussion. How many nursing homes are really trying to help people, and how many of them are getting rich from exploiting their captive clientele? I'd like to see some nursing home legislation that limits nursing homes' ability to seize people's incomes relative to, are they trying to, in what way are they trying to mitigate the financial burden on patients? There's an interesting subject. I guess I can forget the support of the nursing home administrators union. The Association of Nursing Home Owners will not be supporting J. Stan McCauley for anything politically. That's okay. I don't think drug dealers are going to support me either. Such is life. Yeah, there are many high-placed politicos that won't be supporting me either. You know that. But then the decision must be made. Who support are you trying to win? The machine or the people who the machine serves? You can't serve both. It's like mammon. You love one and hate the other. So what is it that you're actually trying to attain? Power and influence in the unique, exclusive club of the political church, or the people whom that club is supposed to serve? You know, in America, there's a big movement afoot. People are sick and tired of the okey doke. This is a fact, and it should be disturbing to many people, particularly in the Democrat Party. 35% of African Americans support Donald Trump. Now, that may not mean much, but I suggest that you take this very, very seriously. 35% that used to support the Democrat agenda no longer do. Some of it is in part because of what happened with Bernie Sanders. Right? So you want to fix in a solution, you got to deal with the reality, not the way it seems to be, but the way it actually is. All right? So it's like broken down into three sectors. There's actually conservative Republican black folk who walk in lockstep with Donald Trump. That's one group. All right. There's the group that kind of like are being kind of like won over. They don't like him, but they like some of the effective gains that he has had, because they're self-informed. They don't believe the hype that they're hearing. They do the research for themselves, and they compare apples to oranges, and they're dispassionate about it. And then there's those that can't stand Donald Trump, hate the ground he walks on, they despise everything about him, but they love the fact that he is waking people up to the borderline hostage situation that the Democrat Party has had over black folk for far too long. That's just my opinion. I'm just giving you an observation. Check the numbers for yourself. I'm just giving you an observation. No one wants to hear that a person has cancer. Nobody wants to hear that. But unless you get the proper diagnosis, you can't come up with a remedy and a solution. And the solution isn't resistance and being mad. The solution is putting forth candidates that are actually going to do something for the people that you purport to serve. When it's all said and done, my friends, Jesus is Lord of Lords and King of Kings. He alone saves and changes lives. Won't you call on his name today? Allow him to be Lord of your life. We will see you here Sunday as we continue with Bible study, boldly going where most won't dare, into the life-changing, life-giving, everlasting word of the Most High God. God bless you all. Keep you strong in the faith. Until Sunday, love you. Bye-bye.